the remake of Scarface that they've been talking up forever, and this is a remake probably more akin to the 1983 than the 1930s version.
Oh yeah, yes.
It's finally happening. Universal has hired a director. They've hired the director of Pablo Larraín, who directed No, didn't he? With
oh yeah, the Chilean movie, right?
Yeah, the Chilean movie. He directed that film.
Oh my God.
Scarface Remake is written by Paul Atanasio, who is a really acclaimed screenwriter. He wrote Donnie Brasco.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, he's a good one. So I mean, the movie has good people behind it. I think the stink that people are making about it, if they think that a remake of Scarface is sacrilege somehow, which it's not, because
it's not at all.
Those people obviously don't know that the Pacino Scarface is a remake
of a Paul Muni film from long
yeah,
ago, which is
like,
notorious in its day.
I mean, come on, guys. That's just ignorance. You can't remake Scarface. Well, Scarface remade Scarface.
Yeah.
Anyway, their big stink is that the guy is no longer Cuban. That it's been updated to take place in modern-day Los Angeles, and it follows a Mexican immigrant. How is that sacrilege? He wasn't Cuban in the first
That makes
Scarface.
perfect sense.
You got to make it for the time. I mean, if you think Scarface, the Pacino version, is great, it's probably because it was made for its time.
Yeah.
You know?
Just as the Paul Muni one was made for its time.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dean.
I mean,
I got you.
Well, first of all, let's say this. First of all, if they've got Pablo Larraín on it and Paul Atanasio on it, that's all you got to say, brother. That's all you got to say.
But the fan base doesn't know who either one of those people are.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Get great people behind it, and it's going to be good. And I'll tell you another thing too. I just had this discussion at the film festival with some people, and we were talking about remakes. And I did our standard line about remakes, which is, hey, listen, no one had a problem with the stage version, a restaging of Death of a Salesman on Broadway with Philip Seymour Hoffman and so forth. You really do have to look at remakes as just restagings of a play only for film. It's just look at it like that, And then we got into a deeper discussion about, we were talking about, the some movie that was remade, in the 90s. It was remade from Adam's Rib. They said, well, they took the idea, but they fucked it up or whatever. And I said, well, if we, to extrapolate the whole idea of, the full correlation between restagings and remakes of movies, restagings of plays and remakes of movies, I'd like to see more remakes made where they followed the screenplay of the original, but remade it for modern times with modern actors in color, that kind of thing. I'd like to see more of that kind of thing happening. Not exactly like like say Gus Van Sant did with Psycho, but in that spirit. And by the way, you do have to give Gus Van Sant for redoing Psycho kind of a credit in that he remade it, but he remade it to the letter, to the T, except for little tiny things. He did it. He really illuminated that idea of remakes being just modern restagings of plays, but for film. And so,
and people think that remake of Psycho is sacrilege. And my thought is, where did the original Psycho go? I mean, that's still around. I mean, that's still a pretty popular damn movie. And I thought, and I've always said this on the show, I thought that the Gus Van Sant Psycho remake was terrible. But I also really like the fact that he did it, because I think Gus Van Sant knew that it wouldn't be a successful movie. It was an experiment, and I thought, well, that just speaks to the strength of Gus Van Sant. He's not afraid to experiment, and I thought it was a really fascinating experiment and really worthwhile.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, but back to Scarface. Look, man, Pablo Larraín is one of the best. I mean, let's don't forget that Pablo Larraín was also deeply involved with another one of the great movies of last year, not just No, but also Gloria, the other film from Chile. So, I mean, he is terrific. He's got great integrity. And Paulette Tanasio, I mean, just, Donnie Brasco, he created the show, or at least created it in name. There's some controversy around it, but he created the show Homicide, Life on the Streets.
Yes.
So,
didn't he also win an Oscar or didn't he also write Quiz Show?
Yes, he was nominated for an Oscar for Quiz Show. So, I mean, God, you can't. I'll go on record and say I'm totally excited. This is the first I'm hearing about it, by the way, and I say, boy, that sounds like some people who have some development people who have their shit together.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's a good idea. It needs to be updated. It's a story that needs to be updated for every generation. I think just as the Paul Muni one was very for the 30s and the Al Pacino one for the early 80s. I mean, the Al Pacino one.
I love it that they're making it about. You said that they're making it about Mexican. So
well, that's the big thing. That's the big thing now.
Exactly. That's a huge issue. So you've got to approach it. I mean, back in the 80s, the Cuban thing was a huge issue. I think that. And I really do
think that some movies like Invasion of the Body Snatchers and they continue to remake. I really do think that movies like that can address the time that we're living in a unique way. And I don't see any reason why Scarface can't be that kind of movie.
No, Scarface is totally that kind of movie.
They're like
because
beautiful templates.
It speaks to the underbelly of the American dream and how a certain fraction would seek to attain it.
Yeah, I agree.
And that changes through the generations,
No, I completely agree. But that's some of the most exciting news that I've heard in a long time. And I'm not a huge fan of Scarface. I know it's a huge cultural, I'm talking about the De Palma. I know it's a huge cultural thing and everything. I'm not the hugest fan of it. But, man, I'll tell you what, this sounds great.
Well, they really need to. I guarantee you the tone will be totally different from the De Palma. I mean, we're not getting... My thought is this Scarface will probably not be over-the-top opera, and it won't contain... therefore, a Pacino-like performance would not fit with this equation. That's the feeling I'm getting from it.
I agree.
Which is perfect because on that level, you can't top Pacino's Scarface. I mean, that is as iconic as the movie performance is, regardless of how you feel about that movie.
By the way, I have a casting suggestion. How about the guy that was in Better Life, nominated for an Oscar for Better Life, Damien Bashir, is that his name?
He would be great. He would be perfect.
Damien Bashir, yeah.
Yeah, that would be my suggestion.
So it's as good as any, I would think.
Yeah, that would be the way that I go. Of course, you could go like since Gael Garcia Bernal was in No. That might be a way to go, too.
But Damien Bashir actually is the perfect choice for that.